Sonic, the heart of your system.
Hello, BRIONY here from Kit Guru, and in this video I'm going to be taking a look at a laptop from Razer, and that is the Razer Blade Stealth 13. As you can see, I have it in the rather beautiful Mercury White edition, and it's not just kind of an aesthetic thing either. Even though it's a very beautiful looking laptop, it also comes with a very select kind of choice of specifications as well. You only have the one option. So with the Mercury White edition, you have an i7-1065G7 processor, obviously from Intel, and it has 4 cores, 8 threads, and also a maximum boost clock speed of 3.9 GHz. It also comes with integrated graphics, and they are the Intel Iris Plus graphics. You've got 16 GB of 3733 MHz memory, and you also have a 256 GB M.2 NVMe drive as well. This laptop doesn't come in cheap though. You're looking at £1,500 for the Mercury White edition. With those specifications, there's no other choices available, and that is obviously quite expensive for a laptop that only has integrated graphics. You can get a laptop for that price that does have dedicated graphics. However, this laptop is marketed at being the world's first gaming Ultrabook. Obviously, being an Ultrabook, there is more of an emphasis on the kind of portability as compared to kind of the pure price versus performance ratio. I'll start off with the overall build quality of this laptop, which is excellent as you would expect really. The other Razer Blades that I've taken a look at are really nice, well-built laptops, and the Stealth is no exception to that rule. It still has a solid aluminium chassis, there's no plastic in sight here, and it helps to make the laptop feel really solid and sturdy. There is zero flex to the body despite the very kind of tiny chassis. Also with the laptop, I found that the hinge opens and closes really smoothly, which is a nice way to check the overall premium feel, and there's no issues with kind of the way that it's finished. I think in general the overall build quality is really kind of 10 out of 10 here. It feels like a premium laptop, and I also think it looks like one as well. Aesthetically, it's great looking. I love the Razer Mercury Edition products. I think they really do stand out, and the silver and white design is really very beautiful to me. I love the silver chassis, and I love the contrast with the white keyboard. And I must admit that at first, kind of from a distance, it does look a lot like a MacBook, but I don't think that is a bad thing at all, because they are a very kind of attractive looking laptop, and they also do have that good construction and kind of high quality feel as well that you do definitely get with this Razer Blade. It does look more kind of sleek and professional than your typical gaming style laptop, and just taking into account the way that it looks, not the specifications or anything, I do definitely think it is going to appeal to a slightly different market compared to most of Razer's existing products. However, it does still have that kind of gaming blood running through it. It does have the snake head logo on the back of the lid of the laptop. It is kind of silver, so it blends in more with the overall design, but it is definitely still there, so those people around you that kind of know what Razer is will definitely spot you in a crowd. And it also does have a RGB keyboard as well. The RGB keyboard itself, it doesn't have per key RGB, but it does still have a really good range of customization, which I think is quite nice. You can adjust the brightness on the keyboard itself, and you can also turn it down and turn it off if you wanted to as well. One of the main benefits of the Stealth 13 is how portable it is. Being an Ultrabook, it's very slim, so it's only 15.3mm. It also only has a weight of 1.35 kilograms, and of course the 13-inch display with the thin bezels means you can fold it down and put it into a backpack and easily take it with you. I also like the design of the charger as well. It's small in size, so it's easy to pack away, and it is quite attractive because it does have a nice braided cable. The one thing about it though is that it is black in coloration, so obviously it doesn't match the silver and white design. However, this does make a little bit of sense as it means that it prevents it looking dirty. Because the Stealth is such a thin laptop, you do miss out on some connectivity. So you do have 2 full-size USB-A ports and also a combination audio jack, but for most of the connectivity you are going to rely on the 2 USB-C ports, which are also how you happen to charge the laptop. One of them is a USB-C 3.1 Gen 2 port, the other is a Thunderbolt 3 port. This connectivity is definitely better than you find on a lot of other thin Ultrabooks, but if you want extra connections for displays, or if you want extra peripheral connections, if you want Ethernet or SD card connections, you are going to have to rely on an external hub. Getting inside the Razer Blade Stealth is a pretty easy task, as you just remove the 10 Torx screws and then that back panel pops off pretty easily. Once inside the laptop, you can see that the cooling comes in the form of some copper heat pipes and also a couple of reasonably sized fans as well. As you'll find out later on in the review, these are plenty sufficient enough for cooling the CPU and the integrated graphics. The battery takes up most of the space around the back here, and it is a 53 watt-hour battery, and I found out that it does definitely keep the laptop juiced up all day. When it comes to the upgrade capabilities, you have no access to the RAM, and there is only a single M.2 slot. So if you wanted to upgrade the storage, you will have to remove the included 256GB M.2 NVMe drive and then replace it with your own one, which is a little bit unfortunate. However, it is nice that it's pretty simple to get to. Speaking of storage, this laptop uses the PM981 from Samsung. It is an M.2 NVMe drive, and as you can see, it is a very fast drive, which helps make the Razer Blade feel nice and snappy and responsive, and is just what you want. However, at 256GB, it is small. There is no denying that is going to fill up really, really fast with any kind of files or games, etc. that you're going to be putting on this laptop. And with the Mercury White Edition, there is only the option to spec it with a 256GB drive. To me, I think that is definitely a little bit disappointing, as not everyone is going to want to lug around our external storage, or also not everyone is comfortable with upgrading the storage that already comes with the laptop. The display that Razer opted to use on the Stealth is 1080p with a 60Hz refresh rate, which I must admit is pretty standard, but it being a 13-inch screen, you don't really need any more pixels, and it is a really nice looking display. The brightness is great, which means that you can easily use it in full daylight, and the colours are nice and vibrant as well, which really makes for an immersive experience. Beneath the screen, we take a look at the keyboard as well. So the keyboard on the Stealth is white. Of course, it does match the silver design really well, and it does have that little bit of RGB lighting as well, which I think creates that nice bit of extra customization. Using the keyboard, I found it really nice to use. Even though it's such a thin laptop, it still has a decent amount of travel distance, and it does lack a numpad, obviously, because there is no space for one, but all the keys are really well spaced and the font is nice and clear and easy to read. The touchpad is very large in size, so there's plenty of room to maneuver, and I found that my hand glides really smoothly over the top. It's also very responsive as well, and it works with all the gestures and things you would expect it to. The left and right click are integrated into the touchpad, but I'm not a huge fan of that because it does mean I miss the right click occasionally. However, they are nice and satisfying to press, and in general there was no real issues. You'd think being such a thin laptop that the speakers on the Stealth would be really rubbish. However, like I found on the Razer Blade Pro 17, Razer can actually do a pretty good job of speakers on a laptop. They are surprisingly loud and also sound pretty good as well, and I think the positioning really helps. They're on the left and the right side of the keyboard, so that creates a slightly more kind of immersive experience, and in general they are actually really quite usable. The Stealth does feature a webcam. Razer have managed to squeeze it in at the top of the screen in amongst those thin bezels, and I must say it's not really anything special. However, if you need a webcam, you kind of want to have one available to you, it is there and it is usable. The webcam itself also allows for the implementation of Windows Hello, which is a way of logging into the laptop just using your face. The software that comes with the Stealth is the Razer Synapse software, and I have spoken a lot about it in the past, but in general it is some pretty good software. It doesn't really have any bugs or issues that I've come across, and it does have everything you need right there. The menus are a little bit spread out and it can be slightly awkward to find things sometimes. However, you've got options for the performance settings, you've got options for lighting, and also options to kind of set up the gaming profile and things as well. It also has the option to, when you connect up different Razer peripherals and things, you can sync up the RGB lighting, etc., and also save all your settings to the cloud. So now it's finally time for me to move on to my performance testing, and this being a Ultrabook means that the Stealth is definitely more aimed at portability over raw performance, and even though I've tested it the same as I would any gaming laptop, I'm clearly looking for different outcomes. I want it to have good battery life and I want it to be kind of quiet and cool. I'm not looking for kind of the best gaming performance possible because obviously not having dedicated graphics, it's not meant to do that anyway. So make sure to head over to the KitGuru website as well after you finish watching the video. There is more written information in there. I go into a little bit more detail. In the video, I don't try to bore you too much, so I won't go into too much depth. So let's move on to the first kind of testing that I did. So the first test that I'm going to tell you the results of is the battery life test. With it being an Ultrabook, being portable, I feel like battery life is probably one of the most important features. So I did my PC Mark 8 test and I run the home benchmark until the laptop essentially runs out of battery. I got a score from that, which was 3 hours 42. As you can see in my chart, it isn't quite as good as other Ultrabooks that are out there, but it is a lot better than even the best performing kind of normal gaming laptop. So what that means is that the 3 hours 42, for me in real life, that kind of converted to about 6 to 8 hours of performance. We also often say like PC Mark 8 is an artificial benchmark, so you can almost like double it really. And that's actually what I found this laptop to do. I could use it all day, and if you put it in kind of like the balance profile or the battery saving profile, you turn down the screen brightness, turn down the keyboard brightness, you do get a lot more kind of hours out of it. So yeah, I would say about 6 to 8 hours is what you can expect, which is really quite impressive, and it's quite nice using a laptop that you don't have to feel like you constantly need a charger with you. Before I move on to my next round of results, I will just tell you about the two different performance profiles that this laptop features. So the Razer Blade Stealth, it has a balance profile where the CPU has a 15 watt TDP, and that's what it defaults to when the laptop is unplugged. When you plug it in, you have the option to change to the performance profile. So that CPU now has a 25 watt TDP, so it's creating more heat, it's using more power, but it's also better for performance as well. So when it came to testing the cooling and acoustic performance, I did try it out in those two different profiles. And when you can see it comes to the cooling performance, there isn't really that much difference between the two profiles. Both of the profiles meant that the CPU obviously could boost to different boost clock speeds, so you're looking at a lower boost clock speed for the balance profile, and then it can boost up to 3.49 gigahertz is what I saw when I ran 8064, which is obviously quite demanding of a test. That's what it could boost to on all cores, but it still managed to stay below 70 degrees, which is really very good. However, between the two different profiles, even though there wasn't too much difference between the kind of temperatures, there was a bit of a difference in the fan noise. So the laptop does definitely have to work harder in the performance profile to keep that CPU at a kind of really good temperature. So there is an increase in fan noise. However, it's still really quiet. This laptop is incredibly quiet. Actually, the under load fan noise is actually kind of like quieter than what I've seen from some idle fan noise of other like proper gaming laptops that I've tested. And yeah, I do find that makes it really pleasant to use. You can quite happily use it in a public space and you know you're not going to like annoy anyone around you. So the cooling performance in general is very good, and I think that's probably one of the main benefits of not having a dedicated GPU. It is just on integrated graphics, so it's much easier for the laptop, the Stealth, to keep them components cool. And yeah, it does a really good job of it, and it's nice and cool and quiet. To test the raw performance of that i7 CPU, I ran the Stealth through Cinebench R15 and R20, and I put it in a graph with a load of full fat gaming laptops, which is what I'm used to testing, which isn't a particularly fair comparison, but what you can tell is that the i7-1065G7 still got a really admirable score. It obviously looks quite bad on the chart that I'm using, but the score it got is actually really quite good and really quite high, and it does actually beat out some of the older i7-7700HQ laptops that we've previously tested. So what that means is that that CPU with its 4 cores, 8 threads, pretty high boost clock speed is going to be plenty enough for kind of gaming with if you want to do some casual gaming on this laptop, but it also does have enough oomph as well if you want to do a little bit of video editing as well. The next synthetic test that I tried on the Stealth was the 3D Mark Firestrike benchmark. This is the benchmark that Kitgear have used to test other kind of similar Ultrabooks and notebooks in the past, but because it isn't really too demanding on something that does have integrated graphics. So as you can see in my results chart, if you compare it to anything that has a dedicated graphics, this laptop really does pale in comparison. For example, the laptop that features a GTX 1050 kind of smashes it really, but that is the downside of just having those integrated graphics, is that you do miss out on that extra performance. However, the Intel Iris Plus graphics do still get a pretty good score, and it does beat out other Ultrabooks that Kitgear have tested, and I think it is going to be enough for kind of casual gameplay, which is what brings me on to my next round of tests. So to test the gaming performance on the Stealth, I chose 3 tester games. So you're looking at CSGO, League of Legends and Overwatch. I'm going to kind of group CSGO and League of Legends together because they are slightly older games, but they do have regular updates and they do obviously still have a really big esports following as well. And they are kind of optimized to run on lower spec systems. So both those games, as expected, I could run them on their max settings perfectly fine on this laptop. It handled them both really, really well. They didn't dip below 60 FPS at all, and it is a really great kind of immersive experience. They ran perfectly smoothly and I had a great time playing those couple of games. Obviously they are far from the most demanding games out there, but I didn't have any problems at all. So the third game that I tested was Overwatch, and it did definitely stretch the integrated graphics a little bit too far, I think. You're looking at kind of low to medium settings. You're going to have to go down to low graphical settings if you want to stop that FPS dipping below 60. However, it is still very playable. So Overwatch is probably going to be kind of the limit of what you're going to be able to play on this laptop and still have a good experience. However, I do find that to be pretty impressive. You are looking at a very thin, very lightweight, very portable laptop that doesn't really get hot at all, and you can still have a good gaming experience on it as well. So overall, what do I think of the Razer Blade Stealth 13 Mercury White Edition? For me, I must say that in general, I do really, really like it. It's the sort of laptop that I think makes sense to me. It's small, it's portable, it has good battery life, and it's also nice and cool and quiet as well. And you can play games on it. It does have some gaming capabilities. However, what I can say is that the storage is just too small. There's just not enough space. 256 gigabytes fills up way too fast. And also it's expensive as well. You're looking at £1,500 for a laptop that does not have any kind of dedicated graphics. And you can get a full fat gaming laptop for that does have a lot more performance than this laptop. However, I think it is a case of you get what you pay for. And I think this laptop is going to be perfect for the type of person that wants a portable laptop. It's going to last them all day. It's also very professional looking, but also does have that casual gaming capability as well. If you like this video from Kitgear, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more from Kitgear, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Please remember to press the little bell icon as well to get a notification every time a new video goes live. Make sure to check out the Kitgear website. Make sure to check out our merchandise store, and we do also have a Patreon if you'd like to support us, and also a Discord you can join as well.